Hi, this is Laura Lorek, your host of the Ideas to Invoices podcast. And today I have the pleasure to interview Gillan Taddune. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Banyan Water, the makers of data-driven water conservation software. Previously, she served in leadership positions at Recycle Bank, Internoc, and Green Mountain Energy. She also served as Chief Economist for the Public Utility Commission of Texas. She currently sits on the Austin Technology Incubator's Water Advisory Board, where she advises startups in the water conservation field. Gillan has served as a member of the board of directors of the Electric Reliability Council of Texas and the Texas Renewable Energy Industries Association. She holds an MA from the Johns Hopkins University and a BA from the University of Vermont. Welcome, Gillan.
Welcome. Thank you very much. It's so nice to be here chatting with you today.
And this is a topic that should be on everybody's minds, water conservation, but I don't hear it talked about that much. Can you talk a little bit about Banyan Water and what you all do?
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more. Water conservation and water scarcity is, in my opinion, the most critical resource issue of our time. And Banyan is out to help businesses deal with that issue. So what we've developed is a software-driven platform really geared towards mostly enterprise customers who want to, one, first and foremost, understand how water is being used throughout their properties in real time. And then once they understand that, giving them options of how to reduce water waste and minimize water risk and cost.
A World Health Organization report estimates that 1 in 3 people on the planet currently lack access to safe drinking water. And it's not just a third world problem. Access to clean and safe drinking water has increasingly become a problem in the United States. And a few weeks ago, Banyan Water released its 2021 water report, analyzing costly water mismanagement and historic droughts. Can you talk about the findings of that report?
Yeah, sure. And I agree. This isn't a problem that is in a developing country somewhere that isn't affecting a lot of the United States. And while we do realize that it is a problem in other countries, we think that it's equally important to realize that it's a critical issue here in the United States as well. So what we did in the water report is 2 things: really try to lay out the macro situation in the United States, and then get down into a micro level details of what can actually happen at the local level or when you're on a property. But at the macro level, clearly stating that it's estimated that 36% of the states in the United States are experiencing some sort of drought. And we pulled that data from the Palmer Drought Index. There are a lot of different sources to get that information, but again, 36% of states in some sort of drought. And then in conjunction with that, we have a very, very severe underlying water infrastructure problem here, where the pipes that are used to transport this critical resource into cities and into homes and businesses is very outdated. And really, according to a lot of the information that we've been able to see, it's estimated that water main breaks occur every 2 minutes across the country. And that leads to about 6 billion gallons of water loss each day. So those are some macro trends contributing to the water scarcity issue in the United States. And then if you look at kind of the micro level of what's happening, we're seeing reduced rainfall. We're seeing rates go up consistently, which, by the way, I think is a good thing, especially in the South. And we're also seeing that every property, commercial property, experiences a lot of leaks on their properties, which, if they go undetected, that can lead to a lot of water waste as well. So we have been trying to outline these critical data points for businesses so that they can realize that water risk is an issue and there are ways that they can go about changing that for their enterprise. What we've been able to do is we collect all of that data from our current customers. And again, we're measuring water flowing in real time, right? Because what is the most disastrous for a business is if they get a utility bill 4 to 6 weeks after the meter was read and realize that there's this huge spike in their water and there was a leak that they didn't know, right? So our goal is, how do we detect those types of anomalies in real time? And our database shows that in 2020, we were able to detect 505 leaks across multiple properties in multiple states. And an interesting concept is the average gallon per minute per leak is about 16 gallons per minute. And that's not even a really large leak, to be quite honest with you. But when you think of, you take a gallon jug, and you dump 16 out per minute, and think about that going undetected for hours and days, that leads to a lot of water waste, for example. So that was another point that we wanted to really showcase in this report so that businesses really understand the importance of real-time data and leak detection to avoid that.
Can you talk about how your software and analytics engine work? It's part of what the buzzword is, the Internet of Things that everyone's talking about with sensors and real-time monitoring and the internet. So can you talk a little bit about how that Banyan Water software system works?
Yeah, so we have a platform that is interconnected with controllers and utility grade meters. And we basically go onto a property and retrofit it with our equipment. Our equipment is able to, in real time, measure water that is flowing across the property. And what it does is it, in the most simplest form, pushes all of that data via a cellular network into the cloud for processing. So we are then able, through our platform, with all of the data visualized in a very simple way, we're able to see how much water is running on a property, when did it run, are there any anomalies we should be looking out for? If we see that there are anomalies, the system is able to automatically flag what would be considered a leak, send alerts off to the customer. And what is really incredible is that we have the ability from the outdoor irrigation perspective to do automatic shutdown if we find leaks that are greater than 10 gallons per minute flowing through the system. So that is real-time data designed to detect these leaks in a very real-time and proactive way. We also have digital maps of every customer property, which enables us to look at not only where points of connection and equipment are located, but what types of plants are on a property. What are they? Where are they located? What is being used to irrigate them? Is it a drip? Is it a spray? How much water do they need? And we have a very advanced algorithm that then takes all of this data and makes sure that only the water that is supposed to be put down on a specific plant in a specific location at a specific time of day will actually get that amount of water. And in doing so, we're able to save our customers anywhere from about 30 to even, we were just looking at one customer out in California, saving them 80% over their historical water use. And again, this is real-time monitoring, not just putting a controller on a property, setting it and forgetting it, right? So we're letting technology really do a lot of the heavy hitting for us to maximize savings and conservation.
If you have a system in place, but you don't have anyone to alert you when there's a problem, then it's not helping.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, taking that one step further, we built all of this with the enterprise customer in mind. So just envision a company that owns 200 multifamily apartment complexes across the United States. well, what are they going to do, right? And so that's why we developed a centralized portal to manage all of that for them and provide that real-time information across multiple rate environments, multiple states, et cetera, et cetera. And we supplement that and do like to provide a managed service component to what we do as well. So we do have a field staff that is able to go onto properties and speak with property managers or landscapers in the event that they need that extra support. So again, it's really putting all hands on deck here to make sure that we're not wasting a drop of water.
And Banyan Water released a report announcing it has saved 4 billion gallons of water for enterprises since its inception, with 530 million gallons conserved and 36 million in asset value created in 2020. So can you talk about who some of your customers are and how you have helped them? You mentioned the property owner who has apartment buildings across the country. Are there also hotels and golf courses, and who else is using this system?
Yeah, so the multifamily market segment is very, very interested in what Banyan has to offer. So we've been doing a lot of business in that sector. Another sector that we have been involved with is corporate campuses and schools. So in the water report, we do highlight a program that we've had with HP Palo Alto out in California, and we implemented our system there in 2018 and have saved them more than 3 million gallons of water and a 42% reduction, which is great. And that's a very large corporate campus, and Hewlett Packard has global sustainability goals. So we've been able to help them significantly with that. We also have a private school out in Ojai, California, named the Thatcher School. They're on about 450 acres, and obviously in an area where water scarcity is very top of mind. And we've been on their campus for at least 4 or 5 years and have been able to provide them with not only water savings, but more visibility into how individual dorm rooms were using water on the campus. And they've had several students really look into that data, and they've even had some competitions on what dorm rooms could be the most water efficient. So there's some other ways that we're able to work with customers as well.
And HP just moved to its headquarters to Texas and Houston market. So I know they have a big presence there. And you said in the report that Houston water prices have been really rising in the last decade or so. Are they going to be using your system in the Houston area now?
Not yet, but we hope that certainly will be the case for sure. But I think that as soon as we're able to speak with them and their campus is up and running, that's obviously a no-brainer for them.
Yeah, I could see all kinds of applications in Texas. Do you have a lot of Texas customers? Do they know about Banyan Water and what you guys are doing here?
We do. We started in Texas, which is great, and then have expanded out significantly from there over the years. But the thing about Texas is it's really, as far as the outdoor water consumption is concerned, it's for the most part necessary year round. So usage tends to be higher, and water rates tend to be higher as well. So there is a lot of requests for water conservation here in Texas. So we're proud to help a variety of businesses in Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, Houston on ways that they can conserve.
Do you also work in ways to reuse water at plants and things like that, where they produce water that they can use for irrigation purposes or even waste treatment water and things of that sort.
Yeah, so what we can do and have done is we can help meter that, so that, you know, if there's a property that has multiple sources of water, one of which being kind of a recycled water, we're able to meter that and help them to figure out when they should be using that type of water versus the water that's separately metered for irrigation. So we've worked with some customers to optimize water source use on their properties.
And Banyan Water, you were founded a decade ago in 2011, and you've raised 6.5 million in funding to date. What have you spent the money on, and do you plan to raise additional funding?
We have spent it building this platform, and you know, we've made incredible strides. You know, when we started out, we didn't have the the digital maps that I was telling you about that customers really love. We've found that they really like to know where everything is on their properties. And before that, we would go visit our customers and they'd have everything in these big binders with things crossed out. And, you know, so we've built things like that for them on the technology side, as well as making sure that our devices that we use got EPA water scent certification, and also really doing a lot of, you know, marketing to let people know what we're doing, because it is a new model and something very different than is available on the market. So that's really what the funds have been used for. And as far as raising money, yes, there is a likelihood that we will be doing that in 2022. We were actually prepared to start raising Series B in really 2020 after a really good Q1 2020, and then we kind of paused, as I think a lot of people did. But now that we're back in action, that's definitely something that's on the radar for 2022.
And is Banyan Water nationwide? Are you in all the different markets, or would that allow you to expand into newer markets or other markets?
Yeah, so it's interesting with Banyan. You know, we could be in any market. The technology is the same. It doesn't matter if you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, right? It's the software platform and our devices that help businesses in water conservation. What we find is that there are some areas of the country where our customers are more inclined to implement Banyan. And again, it's those states where the water use is high because of environmental requirements, so the South, and states where water rates are really high, like the Pacific Northwest, for example. So we usually let, if a customer has, let's just say 100 properties, we'll take a look at all 100 and show them where their highest water users are. And time again, those have ended up really falling more in the southern states and then the western states. So we're in about 15 states right now, but I do imagine that as water rates continue to rise, or that we see any mandates coming out of, mandatory reductions that have to be made and reported, I could see that expanding to, all 50 states in the next 5 years.
Yeah. Is that legislation being considered that you know of? Is there any congressional movements on water conservation or anything of that sort?
Well, there's an infrastructure bill, as you know, that's out being looked at. So there's that to, kind of improve infrastructure and hopefully incentives for water conservation. We're also keeping our eye on various states. We've heard in just discussions with folks that there may be some mandates coming out in California. similar to what happened in 2016, where there was a statewide mandate. I think it was a goal of some statewide 20% reduction across all businesses. That was then lifted several years later when the state, rained a lot and they kind of came out of that drought. But now, as you know, in California, there's a pretty severe drought situation there. So we're kind of watching to see if something like 2016 happens there again.
Yeah. And earlier this month, the Business Intelligence Group named Banyan Water as one of the 2021 Sustainability Leadership Award winners. Other winners include IBM, Ford, Dow, FedEx, T-Mobile, MasterCard. That's a pretty prestigious bunch of companies to be in the same group with. So what does that mean to win this award for Banyan Water?
Yeah, obviously, we're just so thrilled and so proud because really we're a mission-driven company, and we are here because we believe in sustainability, and we believe that water scarcity is the critical issue of our time. So to be acknowledged for that when, we're small and growing and among such a prestigious group makes us absolutely thrilled.
And can you talk about what the water situation is like in Central Texas, in Austin and San Antonio? What are the cities getting right, and what do they need to improve upon?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. San Antonio and Houston have been increasing their water rates pretty consistently and will continue to do so. I think that that's absolutely necessary for conservation. I mean, when you think about water and how, it's critical for our human survival, even with water rates going up, it is still cheaper than most commodities in the marketplace, right? And I don't think that people even think about that, right? So if you think about a gallon of water, the cost of it is on average at 1/800th of a cent per gallon, right? So think about everything that water is cheaper than, whether that's a gallon of milk or juice or gasoline or paint or anything, right? And you think about why, and then you think about, well, why isn't there this massive trend towards conservation? And again, I go back to we need market-based ways of pricing this scarce resource, right? When you can't just build a water plant anywhere, right? Like an energy plant, you can build one over time to meet demand. Well, with water, what's the substitute for it, right? And I also believe that when a city prices water rates high enough, not only will businesses start to conserve, it'll make the opportunity for new technologies to come in and help solve the problem, right? So I think, cities are starting to see that in Texas, especially in Houston and San Antonio. Austin rates have been pretty flat for a while, so I'd like to see an upward trend there. So that, and really it's more so that we don't get into a situation where everyone is scrambling around trying to deal with a crisis at the last minute when we could have prevented something from happening long before that.
Yeah, and Austin had a scare last year or a couple of years ago now with the water supply being contaminated. So the only time people really are concerned about water is when they don't have it. I've seen that in hurricane situations where all of a sudden, you can live without food, but you can't without water. So I think why aren't people better educated about the scarcity of water and the need for conservation? Then they would demand that of the government officials and also of businesses not to waste it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we all know. I think everyone knows that water is absolutely critical, and you can't pick up a newspaper these days without reading about water scarcity. But again, as long as we can all go over to our faucet and turn it on and water comes out, or as long as we can use potable water, it's allowed to irrigate our lawns, right? And as long as it's cheaper than every other commodity available on the market, it's not going to affect behavioral change, right? And I agree, we had that contamination issue, the whole, what was it called? The boil water situation in Austin, which did raise awareness, but then that went away. It was the same with the snowstorms, right? Like I didn't have water for a week and it hits everyone, but then it goes away. Well, if we get to a situation where the water tables are low enough and say that there's water rationing, right? Then I think people will start to feel it and do something about it. But until we really get to a point where we can't just turn those faucets on or fill up the bathtub or water whenever we want, we're just not gonna see it in massive parts of society, in my opinion.
Now we talked about the pandemic. These are strange times we're living in. How has the pandemic affected Banyan Water's operations?
Yeah, well, I think, in one way, we've been lucky because a lot of what we do is outdoor work and we deal with water. So, in 2020, we were able to continue operations and serving our customers. And we were able to help our customers who, some of them weren't able to be on their properties. So we were able to continue watering their properties remotely. And I think that really helped them. Obviously, there was a bit of a pause for about 3 to 6 months when the world was trying to figure out if we were going to come out of it or not. And now that we have, combined with, top of news with scarcity everywhere this summer, we're definitely getting requests and a ton of momentum again, which is great to see.
And as you're a member of the Austin Technology Incubator's Water Board, and you get to work with some startups that are focused on solving water problems. Should we be looking at now, or is there an issue? Are there issues out there that startups should be tackling, in your opinion?
Yeah, what's nice about the water program of the Austin Technology Incubator is you really see some new ideas, and what we try to do is help them, because it's really difficult to kind of get past your concept stage and into the market and early adoption. I think there's a couple of really innovative companies in there. The whole zebra mussel debacle that we have, there's a kind of software that's able to monitor that. There's some advanced metering companies, smart shower heads. So it really is a diverse group, and I really like the fact that Austin and the University of Texas at Austin are helping a lot of these businesses come to life that are focused on various types of water issues.
And what is Banyan Water excited about today? What is coming down the pipeline for Banyan Water?
Yeah, I think in addition to expanding and getting a lot more inbound inquiries than we ever have before, that's great. We're also seeing inquiries coming from abroad, which is really interesting. And we're able to start dialoguing with businesses who are abroad and dealing with water issues in their countries. And our software platform can interconnect with really any type of device or sensor or meter in a building. And we can just exchange that data and start showing customers how they're using water and if any anomalies are occurring within their buildings. And that's just starting, but I see that as, if we can start helping other countries with their water risk issues, that'll be a great thing for us.
And is there a particular book that you would recommend to better understand the world's water problems and what we can do to help?
I wouldn't say a particular book. I would pick up any book on climate change, and it'll talk about water scarcity. And again, water encompasses such a broad range of issues, right? Whether it's water quality, water scarcity, right? So I would just say, go on and read any book that interests you, especially something that's more tilted on the climate change front.
Thank you so much, Gillan. Thanks for being with
Absolutely.
us today. Really appreciate your time, for you sharing your information and knowledge with us.
Thank you so much. Have a great day and enjoy this beautiful morning.